Starting this hour, a US trade court has blocked most of President Donald Trump's tariffs, ruling that he overstepped his authority by imposing broad tariffs on imports from trading partners without congressional approval. China's Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning and Commerce Ministry spokeswoman He Yongqiang both commented on the broader issue of tariffs. Here is what they had to say.
在关税问题上，中方已经多次阐明了立场。关税战、贸易战没有赢家，搞保护主义损害各方的利益。
中方敦促美方正视国际社会和国内各方理性声音，彻底取消单边加征关税的错误做法。
Well, these reactions come as the Court of International Trade ruled that only Congress can regulate international commerce, rejecting the use of emergency powers for tariffs. A three-judge panel said it wasn't ruling on policy wisdom, but found Trump's tariffs illegal, imposing a permanent ban on broad orders since January. The decision was met with positive reactions in the financial markets, with the US dollar rising against currencies such as the euro, yen and Swiss franc, while Wall Street futures and Asian equities also climbed. The court ordered the Trump administration to revoke the affected tariff orders within 10 days. The administration promptly filed an appeal and challenged the court's authority. The court struck down all tariffs since January under the IEEPA, a law for national emergencies, but left industry-specific tariffs like those on steel, aluminium and autos in place. Analysts say it's a setback for the administration, but unlikely to affect key US trade partners. US White House spokesperson defended the tariffs, calling the trade deficit a national emergency and slamming the court for meddling in policy. The lawsuit filed by small businesses in 12 states claimed the tariffs hurt their operations. Trump is the first US president to use IEEPA for tariffs, a law usually reserved for sanctions on foreign adversaries. Well, lots of updates there, and joining us to discuss them in this ongoing trade tension and, of course, court action is Gerard Alfil, a finance expert who is joining us from Dubai. Gerard, thank you ever so much for joining us. Let's just get your first reaction on this court ruling that, if it is followed through and no appeal is successful, would see a failure for Trump in terms of his tariff policy. Do you agree?
It's a setback, definitely. I take several things out of this court ruling. First of all, the checks and balances work in the United States. So there's not only a setback for the Trump administration, but also for those media and those critics who say Trump is now ruling like a monarch, and because he has a trifecta, so that means the government, the majority in the Senate and the majority in the House, that he can do whatever he wants. No, checks and balances work in the United States. The judicial systems are in place. The judicial systems work. First. Second is going back to your point on the positive market reactions. Yes, they were positive, and the greenback has gained some ground, regained some ground. However, it's not that there's a reverse rally. Yes, the US dollar has gained against the euro, against the Swiss franc, against the Japanese yen. However, it's not the total reaction that people are now euphoric, and also some analysts already said, like from Goldman Sachs or from UBS earlier today, that it's too soon to relax, because there are still ways to keep tariffs in place, some tariffs in place, and the judicial tug of war is not over yet.
Yes, Gerard, well, we've had a response from China, and we expect further responses from many of these nations which have been impacted by Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. Given that there are ongoing trade discussions with these tariffs in the back, of course, how will this impact those discussions that are currently going on with the US administration?
They will carry on, and also the efforts will continue, that those states, those countries which are affected by the tariffs, China in particular, will continue to strengthen their ties with other countries. I'll give an example. 2 weeks ago, President Trump was in the Gulf region here, visiting Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. At the same time, the Chinese government reached out to Latin America. So they used the time, of course, then to reach out to the turf of the Americas. And also earlier this week, there was a conference of the ASEAN ministers plus the Gulf Arab ministers in Southeast Asia. And these efforts, you will see, will continue, that everyone tries to strengthen ties with parties where ties are and trade ties are still in place, but they want to expand them. So the sky is the limit in this case. The People's Daily in China reported earlier today that after the 90-day pause was implemented earlier this month, that the shipping capacities are now back to a maximum capacity between the US and China. That means there is an appetite, there's a hunger for trade between both countries, and this also the Trump administration has to take into account. It's interesting that you mentioned also Elon Musk has resigned, will pull out of the administration. So this is a bit of a double whammy for the Trump administration, isn't it? The court ruling that the tariffs are not covered by US law, and also that Elon Musk pulls out. So we have to see.
Absolutely, Gerard. Of course, this situation is going to be escalated. The Trump administration, White House have said that they will appeal this. But if it is stuck at this point from the court ruling, what will the impact be on businesses?
There will remain there's an uncertainty, and the uncertainty will remain for businesses. They will look for alternative parties, like, for example, other regions like Latin America, like Middle East, Africa, Europe, Central Asia. And I think businesses will now lobby even more in the Trump administration, or with the Trump administration, to think over these things. And because this pattern shows a typical Trump style pattern, try to reach the maximum what you want, and then you pull back. Either the lobbyists stop you or the courts stop you, but if you fall short, you still have to reached something. That's a typical businessman style, the art of the deal, if you would like to say.
Yes, and Gerard, to bring an end to this discussion, you speak about the art of the deal there, but given the instability that has been caused across global markets, if the US isn't going to gain more money through these tariffs, is this a bust for Trump?
Say it again, more money from the tariffs?
So if this ruling stands and the tariffs aren't in place, and there won't be reciprocal tariffs, which were set to make the United States, of course, a huge amount of income, is this a bust for Trump?
In a way, yes, because also tariffs are taxes. If a Chinese exporter wants to sell goods to the US, and then there's a tariff on, he will transfer these tariffs, will put a premium on the price of his goods, and the consumer in the US has to pay. Now, if they are deleted, definitely this is a bust, because in other places, the Trump administration wants to increase spending, like in security, like in military, like in stopping immigration, and you can say so. Yes, definitely, it's a setback.